Good morning, everybody. I apologize for my tardiness this morning. Good morning once again. Leonard is not here today. Leonard is going to be either the Grand Marshal or Deputy Grand Marshal, something like that. He told me Clark Atlanta's homecoming parade this morning. So that means it's just going to be you and I. That's all it's going to be today. Anyway, welcome to We Got Something to Say. It's Saturday morning, and once again, I'm gonna apologize for being late. I, you know how it is when you have in the mornings when it first starts to get becomes fall, and you you just don't feel like getting out of bed, and that's how I felt this morning. Actually, there's no reason for me not to get out of bed. I had plenty of sleep. I wasn't tired or anything like that. It was just that alarm went off at 8:30, and I didn't feel like getting up because it was cold and that bed felt real good. So that's why I got up. That's why we came out a little late. And I was trying to do some other stuff in terms of my in terms of my in terms of my computer. I deleted a whole bunch of files, music actually. I deleted a whole bunch of music from my computer, in hopes that it would make this go a little bit smoother. We wouldn't have any problems with it or anything like that. So that's why I came on a little late. And of course, I had to eat something. And why is this thing not live now? Let me go out of this and come back in. Okay, it is live. Good. I'm good to go. All right. So there's a few things I want to talk about today. Um, as usual, the Trump administration is doing their craziness. It's day 23. I think it's day 23 of the government shutdown. Maybe 24 now, because maybe either 23 or 24. And people have just some people didn't get paid as of yesterday, or as of a few days ago. Didn't get paid. Well, they got paid, but this is check here. The next check that they get is not going to have any money in it. It's just going to be, as they said, I saw in the news yesterday, just zeros in there, and that's a shame because the you have both sides trying to make the case of why they're not negotiating, and they're not negotiating. All it is, well, let's say this for those of you who don't know, it's real simple. The government every year runs out of money toward the end of the year. Probably closer actually to more like around August, somewhere around there. They always run out of money. And it's because they budgeted money for a certain amount of things, for a budget a certain amount of money, and of course we run through those funds because things happen, just like us in our regular life. We budget for a certain amount of dollars we're going to spend every month. Some of us, I know I don't, but a certain amount of dollars we want to spend each month. We do that, and then we turn around, and then something comes up. Our car breaks down. We got to take it to the shop. Could be a medical emergency. You got to come up a few $100s for that, for going to the emergency room. Sickness, or you go to urgent care. Something always pops up, and that's a part of life, and that's what happens with our government as well. Exact same thing. So in this case, and when it runs out of money, Congress gets together because Congress controls the purse. The House of Representatives, they're the ones who started off and come up with, in this case, a continuing resolution. All it is we're gonna come up with some more money to pay to make sure everybody gets paid, so the government won't shut down. Because if we don't, the government's gonna shut down. People are not gonna get paid, so on and so forth. And they've been doing this for years. They always, I remember back in the 80s, Republicans were always talking, we need to balance the budget. We need to balance the budget. We need to balance the budget. We can't keep having these continuing resolutions and all this stuff. Our budget will never be balanced because, as I said, shit happens. So, in this particular case, um, and it's usually pretty much there may be some him and hawing and going back and forth and debate on it, but usually it's done because nobody wants to shut the government down. Now there have been shutdowns in my lifetime, several of them. The last one was for 34 days back when during Trump's first administration. But in this particular case, the Democrats decided not to sign off on the CR because Republicans said that they're going to because they wanted to add into the budget the items that they did in that quote unquote big beautiful bill that everybody think is ugly, where they cut subsidies to Obamacare and cut Medicare and Medicaid. That's a non-starter for Democrats. At least it should be for all of them. So because of that, the Republicans said, we want to put that back in this bill. We want to make sure that this is a permanent thing. Democrats are like, no, we're not going to allow you to do that. So all of this, because of this, the government decided, Democrats didn't go along with it, and Republicans just allowed it to the government to shut down. Now, the reason why I say Republicans are allowed to shut down, because Republicans are controlled of 2 of the 3 branches of government. The legislative branch, which is House of Representatives and the Senate, and they're also in control of the other part, the executive branch, which of course is the presidency. And they have more conservatives who lean toward Republicans in the Supreme Court. So really and truly, they have control over all 3 branches of government. So they can end the shutdown whenever they want to. They can definitely end it. The only problem is, they can end it by negotiating and saying, okay, well, we won't add that this year. We'll have a debate for the budget for next year and decide what we're going to do about this Medicaid and Medicaid thing next year. But they're insistent that they want to do it. Now, they always try, of course, in Republican eyes, it's always the Democrats' fault. It's always Democrats. It's always the liberals' fault, which equates to Democrats. Everything that bad happens in this country is Democrats' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. Everything. You got a guy who shoots up a building, who comes into a classroom and shoots up children. It's the Democrats' fault. You have the assassination of the shooting of Charlie Kirk. It's Democrats' fault. Now, all these people, majority of the time, in these cases, especially with the mass shootings, there's always somebody who supports Trump. They're conservatives. And they go after whomever because they're pissed off. But it's always Democrats' fault. Now, the back and forth blaming of things like that is getting old. Really, truly, it's getting old. But it's necessary. And good morning, Stacey. So we're having this continuing resolution. The funding of the government is not happening because Republicans want to cut Medicare and Medicaid and subsidies to Obamacare, and Democrats are like, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. If we have to suffer and shut the government down, and people have to suffer for it, so be it. Because if they don't, what's going to happen? They said there's about 20 million people that's using Obamacare and they get these subsidies. They said that this is independent people, not Democrats themselves, independent watchdog groups and all of those people who pay attention to stuff like this. They said the average cost of Obamacare will pretty much double.
What the hell are you talking about?
Come on, very beautiful. Good morning. Happy homecoming.
Hold on. Why is this fool just popping up now? And he's in a parade, and we got all this noise coming up behind him.
You want me to get
Why
off?
would you do that?
I'll go on mute.
How about we mute yourself? There you go. Look at that. Look at God helping him out. But anyway, so there's 20 million people is going to see their health care through Obamacare, which is actually very popular among all Americans. Majority of Americans want to keep Obamacare in place. And those 20 million that get subsidy from the government, and the subsidy is the government gives you, let's say if your healthcare bill is every month is $900, the government give you about $500 of that. So you can afford to have healthcare. Because in case you didn't know, it's more expensive for Americans not to have health care than it is to have health care. Because if you don't have health care, you're going to wait until you get really sick and go to the emergency room. And when you go to the emergency room, it's going to cost you a whole lot more money. And if you don't have the ability to pay, which a lot of Americans don't have ability to pay these healthcare bills, the hospital has to eat that. In other words, the hospital is responsible for it at that point. So if the hospitals keep eating all you got, let's say you got 20,000, you live in a small town of 15,000 people, and majority of those people don't have health care, and they go to the emergency room, and they don't have health care, and they can't afford to pay their bill, the hospitals don't have to eat that. They can't pay their people. They're not going to be able to pay their people. Well, they will be able to pay their people. The hospital has to pay everything for your health care. And that's why a lot of hospitals went bankrupt. Here in Georgia, if you can recall a few years ago, about 3 years ago, Atlanta Medical Center, downtown Atlanta, went out of business because the governor of Georgia, the idiot Brian Kemp, did not want to expand Medicare and Medicaid here coverage in the state of Georgia. And they had a lot in that area. There are a lot of people who are poor and can't afford health care. So they would go to the emergency room when something bad happened to them. When they did that, the hospital would have to eat that cost. After a while, hospitals can't afford to do that, which is the reason why we have Medicare, Medicaid, and the Obamacare, the subsidies for that. So in these cases, in these particular cases, what's happening is people, when people lose, get these subsidies are cut or removed, period, those people who are on it can't afford to have health care. Or if they can afford it, it's going to double. So if you're paying your health care bill now is $400, it's going to be a month. Now it's going to be $800 a month. That's what happens when these subsidies are taken away. So the Democrats are standing tall, as my kids say, 10 toes down on this. We're not going to allow that to happen. We're not going to allow it to happen. And because of that, the government is shut down. This shutdown, government shutdown, is all about principle. One side has principles, the other side don't. So that's what's going on, y'all. That's why we have this shutdown. The question is, how long is it going to last? That is the question. Like I said, the last one, Stacey said, or $1,200 a month, because it may triple. The question is how long it's going to last. And we don't know. They're not even in negotiation. And the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, won't even call back the House of Representatives back into session because he does not, one reason, mostly. He has to swear in a new congresswoman from Arizona. She won the special election a month ago. And she's ready to go come in and do some work. But he won't do it because if she come in, he calls Congress into session, somebody's going to call for a vote to release the Epstein files. Force the Trump administration, the DOJ, to release the Epstein files. And he doesn't want that because he's trying to protect Donald Trump, which is crazy. This is all crazy, y'all. So he said, well, the Democrats agree to open up the government, then agree to our budget demands, then we'll go ahead and open the government back up, and then we'll go ahead and have her I'll swear her in. In the meantime, that's not gonna happen. Congress has been on vacation for about 3 weeks. Oh, and they're getting paid. Let's say that. And if they're not getting paid, they already make about $180,000 a year anyway, up to 200 and something. So they ain't, unless they live in some secret life where they spend a lot of money, they good. They are good. They're not worried about that. But their staffers aren't good because their staffers aren't getting paid. And you have people who are actually coming to work. Now, you have a lot of the government, they're just not coming to work. But you have people, mandatory people who are coming to work. TSA agents at work. Air traffic controllers at work. You have law enforcement at work. The military at work. But they're not getting paid. So if you look on the news, you see pictures from around the country where federal workers, trying to stretch what little dollars they have to they get paid, are going to food banks to get food. That's what they're doing. That's what it's come to. You have people who have full-time jobs that aren't getting paid, and they can't even afford to go get themselves some food, or they might be running out of food. And there are far-reaching implications behind this, because in case you didn't know, just because one person doesn't get paid, that doesn't mean it doesn't affect the rest of society. And I'll give you a perfectly good example. You have somebody who works for the federal government. Let's go, and I'll just go it this way. You have a single mother that works for the federal government. She's the sole source of income for her children, for her family. And you have one of her children, let's say it's in college, doing well, but the mama got to pay some X amount of money a month to pay for their college tuition. After a certain point, mama's not going to be able to afford to pay that college tuition. So it means that child may have to drop out of school. You have businesses that have restaurants. Let's go with restaurants that are around federal buildings. And as somebody who's worked in a government building, those businesses around government buildings rely on, especially restaurants, they rely on people to come in, those government workers to come in and spend money at their restaurants. That's what they rely on. That's their livelihood. They don't get foot traffic from, people just walking down the street as much around those things. They get foot traffic from those people who are who work in those government buildings, because they come out, go to lunch, eat in the restaurants, go back. So because of that, those businesses are dropping off. They may go out of business, or they may have to close, which means the people that work for them aren't getting paid. And if they're not getting paid, that affects their families. This is a trickle down effect, or trickle effect. This is how if one segment of our society loses out, it affects the rest of us. It really affects the rest of us. But when you're in such high positions, people who are in the government, people that are in Congress, they don't see that. They don't see it. And it affects their people too, because the people who work for them in Congress, the staffers, they're not getting paid either. And if you're a staffer that lives in DC, the rent in DC is ridiculously high. Ridiculously high. So now their staffers aren't getting paid. What are their staffers supposed to do? So all of this stuff is going on now because Donald Trump and the Republicans want to cut Medicare and Medicaid and the subsidies for Obamacare, because they want to punish the people. Let's keep it real. This is not benefiting anybody. Cutting Medicare and Medicaid and Obamacare subsidies is not benefiting anyone. No one. Our government is not broke. We're nowhere near broke. We will never be broke. Let's keep this real. Let's keep it, as my kids say, let's keep it a buck. Our government is not short of money. They have never been short of money. There's no reason for having this shutdown. No reason at all. We're not short of money. We never have been and never will be. And if we were, it was in the early infancy stages of our country. So and of course, as Harriet said, they want to get rid of Affordable Care Act, but they can't get rid of it. That's the crazy thing. They can't get rid of it because it's so popular. And people remember back in the day when Obama came with this, and it was like, oh, I don't want that stuff. I don't want that stuff. I don't want Obamacare. So different states named it something different, but it was still Obamacare. Exact same thing. It was still Obamacare. And people started using it. It's like, oh, this is a good thing. I like this. Now it's very popular. Because remember, at first they were calling it death panels. They're gonna have some people who are not doctors decide whether or not grandma should get her medicine. They're called death panels. And you have people in Republican leaning people saying, oh, I don't want grandma. Nobody, no person who's not a doctor should be determining what people are getting, what medicine grandma gonna get, or what treatment grandma gonna get. You wanna know what? That's what insurance companies are doing. Insurance companies do that already. An insurance company can deny you treatment because in their eyes it's too much money or it's too experimental. There's not enough data to support using this. Meanwhile, you're sitting over there suffering needlessly because they don't want to approve it. You got to go back and forth. Your doctor got to go back and forth with these insurance companies to prove that you should have this treatment. Oh my, okay. My thing went out for a second. But that's what they do. But people don't complain about that. And let's be real. A higher proportion of Republican leaning states, let's say this, Republican leaning states, those states that Donald Trump won in the last election, last two elections, highest rate of people, highest number of people using Medicare and Medicaid than anybody else in the country. They have a higher number. And Marion, I just saw what you said. I don't know if it's unconstitutional. I really don't. And Harriet, I really and truly, I don't even want to put that in the atmosphere about planes. It's we already had a shortage of air traffic controllers before this because of Donald Trump and his stupidity. So we had a shortage of them even before this. Now we got stuff going on where we can't even. There are air traffic controllers who aren't getting paid, aren't coming to work, calling out sick. So they're calling out sick, which means you have less air traffic controllers because they can't afford. Let's be real. It's not just food. You also need gas money. So you have to have gas in order to get to work. You don't have gas money, guess what? And you can't pay for an Uber because it's cheaper to put gas in your car than it is to get an Uber. So all of this stuff is crazy. You still have to pay your bills. If you're not getting paid, your bills are not going to stop. Your bills do not care about you not getting paid. The people you owe money to, your mortgage, your car, electricity, internet bill, all of that stuff still keeps coming, whether you have a job or not. Those are things that we cannot, that people don't think about. The effects that this has on the American economy. And, Stacey made out a valid point. That's the reason why the guy that was head of the CEO of United Healthcare, why he got shot. It's funny how I really don't know how the guy who killed him, how he even knew who he was and where he would be But that's neither here nor there. It's the government shutdown is unnecessary. It's ridiculous that we're doing this. And it's all because they don't want to, they're trying to have money. They're trying to, they say they're trying to save money because there's so much Medicare fraud. Well, that's what you have a fraud department, Medicare fraud department for. That's what the Justice Department is supposed to be doing. All of these things. They don't have it. They can't do it. So all of this stuff is a result of just being plain mean. But as Stacey said, we have money to send $40 billion to Argentina to help their economy because their economy is failing. And then they're going to say, we're going to import some Argentinian beef to help their economy. Meanwhile, ranchers here in the United States are having to pay, are losing their business because people can't afford to buy beef. They can't afford to buy beef. So cattle ranchers are losing out. Farmers all over the country are losing their farms because Donald Trump and his tariffs that he imposed on other countries, like one with China. I saw something that was ridiculous to me. So China used to be spend about $4 billion a year, something like that, on soybeans from the United States, from farmers in the United States. So those farmers were living good. They made their soybeans. They ship them all to China. China do whatever they want, do what they do. So when Donald Trump came up with these stupid tariffs against China, the Chinese said, okay, we got one for you. We're just not going to buy American soybeans anymore. Now they're getting their soybeans from another country in South America. So those farmers who were getting a piece of $4 billion every year for their farms selling soybeans to the Chinese, this year they're not getting any money. Imagine your whole business is selling soybeans to China, and China said we're not going to buy any more American soybeans because of Trump's tariffs. So we're going to keep it moving. We'll find somebody else. And they go find somebody else. Now your business is completely gone. Gone. You're losing your farm. You have nothing left. You're growing soybeans and you don't even have any place to sell it. Now you may be able to sell it locally, but that's not going to be enough to sustain your family, to sustain your business. And that's what they're doing. That's what's going on, y'all. It's a shame because, well, the irony of it, I should say, the irony of it is the people who are suffering the most under Trump's administration are the people who voted for him. That's crazy, y'all. The ones that are suffering the most are the ones that they wanted, that are suffering the most financially, are the ones that voted for him. Now, I'm not going to say they're suffering the most because I think those people that are being caught up in these quote unquote ICE raids, those illegal arrests and detentions that ICE is doing, they're suffering more. But we have businesses all over the country that are closing because of Trump's tariffs, because of this government shutdown, all of these things. Now, we do know at some point the government's going to reopen, and hopefully those people will get back pay, which is kind of crazy because you're going to end up paying those people anyway. You're literally going to end up paying them. So why not just go ahead and pay them outright to begin with? Why not just go ahead and pay them? Because you're going to have to, on the back end, instead of them getting, let's say, on a paycheck, $3,500 on the paycheck, they're going to get a paycheck that's now $15,000. You're still going to pay them. So why not pay them anyway? This whole shutdown stuff is ridiculous. This whole thing, everything that's going on is ridiculous. And it's because it's this one, and I think the word I'm looking for is impetulant child. This one ridiculously childish, sensitive, punk ass man in the White House is doing this for what? What is he trying to do? What is he trying to gain? Nothing. He's just trying to destroy the government. He's really trying to destroy the government. So, this is something I posted last week, and I posted yesterday in a Facebook group that I'm in, Alpha Facebook group. And in the Alpha one, brothers were talking about, hey, if you're a government worker and you need to get another job, brothers was like, we'll help you, because these were brothers in a chapter, alumni chapter in Virginia. Of course, Virginia has a lot of federal government workers in the state of Virginia. But they said, hey, we'll help you with with your resume writing, this and that. We'll help you with all this stuff, trying to help each other out. And people have been doing that a lot. I'm not sure about other fraternities and sororities, but I'm pretty sure they are doing the same thing. People just helping people as much as they can. That's what I'm sure that's happening, because that's what we should be doing. But one of the things I put in there is, those of you who've lost your job, why not become a teacher? And I say this, and when I tell people this, hey, why don't you teach? Oh, I can't teach those kids. Those kids are crazy. Okay, this is somebody coming from that was a cop and then became a teacher. Some kids have behavior issues. There are some kids that just like old boy from Life can't get right. There's some that's like that. But majority of the kids are not like that. Some of them talk a good game. They try to act tough, but deep down, that's not what they want. They're not tough. As I tell my students all the time, I say, ain't none of y'all here thug. Ain't none of y'all here hard. It's like, what you mean? What you mean? What you talking about? I say, none of y'all thug. Thugs don't go to school. A real thug don't go to school. A real thug, they stay at home. A real thug don't get it about 11 o'clock, 11, 12 o'clock, because he up to 3 o'clock in the morning trying to make money. All they do is scheme. That's what a real thug does. Y'all pretending to be one because you think that's what it should, that makes you look tough. That makes you look bad. Really, none of y'all that tough. None of y'all that bad. So I tell them, stop pretending to be that way. But because people hear horror stories, and I'm not saying every child out there, every student out there is an angel, not by any stretch of the imagination are they. But a lot of them just want somebody to care. And by I mean care, I literally mean care about them. I've said this before. Excuse me 1 second, y'all. Some good tea, good black tea. But I've said this before. I said this before about something I tell my students. And I tell them straight up, if you have somebody in your life, whether it be a parent, a grandparent, a family member, or an adult, period, even teachers that allow you to do whatever you want to do and don't check your behavior, they don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about you. They don't care about you or your future. They don't care. So if that's the case, why are you allowing them? Why are you getting upset when somebody else corrects your behavior? Because I tell them all the time, hey, whether y'all pass my class or flunk my class, I'm going to get paid either way. My paycheck don't go up or go down whether or not you pass or fail my class. I don't get no bonuses for how many of y'all pass my class. I don't get a bonus for how many of y'all fail my class. So the only person that benefits from you passing my class is you. Don't let reputations, some earn, most not, deter you from getting a job that could, one, be very rewarding for you in the end, and two, you could change somebody's life. You could literally change somebody's life for the better. They could see you, and you could be that one person that they say, damn, he or she is cool. I like them. Let me listen to what they have to say. The most rewarding thing I have when I'm on and teaching is when I can look at a face and see a light bulb go off. When they finally get it, they understand. That light bulb goes off. And it's funny because a lot of my students, I'll ask the class a question and I would wait for them to ask a question, and somebody, several people will answer the question at the same time. Inevitably, there's one person, and when everybody's talking at the same time, of course, I can't focus on everybody, all the words, who's talking and who's saying what. So I pick out somebody that I heard them say, what'd you say? And they'll say the right answer. And then somebody else will come up and say, I said that too. They want accolades. They want somebody to acknowledge them. And I was like, well, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Didn't understand you. I'm sorry. I didn't understand what you said. I said, there was a whole bunch of people talking, but you get credit for it. Now you don't get nothing for the credit, but you get credit. Hey, you got it right. Cool. That works. They just want somebody to acknowledge them, man. So being a teacher is not that difficult, y'all. It really, actually, the most hard part about being a teacher is dealing with administrative stuff as opposed to the teaching part. The teaching part is easy. That's the easiest thing in the world. The administrative part is the hard part. Paperwork. Sitting in boring ass professional learning classes, telling you about different strategies and all the strategies that they come up with. All the strategies they come up with don't work in your class because the strategies they came up with came from somebody in Iowa who came from 2-parent households with kids. Both mommy and daddy have a job, and there's somebody taking care of them at all times. They don't miss no foods, no meals, got a stable place to stay. They don't take into account the kid that doesn't have a stable place to live, living in an extended stay motel, don't have a place, have a way to wash their clothes. They wear the same thing every day. They come to school hungry, leave hungry, because it's not cool to eat school lunch, which they get for free in a lot of cases. But it's not cool to eat the school lunch. So they won't eat the school lunch because it's not cool. So they go home starving. And you, teacher, just giving them some candy, sharing your lunch with them. Simple things. Now they're looking up to you. Now they think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now they're paying attention in class. They look forward to coming to your class. They enjoy your class because you care about them as a person. That's what we need. There's always a shortage of teachers, y'all. Always a shortage. And if y'all can sit here and listen to me and Leonard every Saturday to the boring shit that we talk about, y'all can teach. If you can sit here and add to the commentary, Stacy, I saw what you said. If you can add to our commentary, sit here in this boring, well, I guess it's not boring, but I hope it's not boring anyway. Sit here and listen to Leonard and I go back and forth about pretty much the same subjects all the time because the same subjects will keep coming up. Something dealing with the Trump administration and the stupid stuff that they're doing. If you could sit here and do that and then make intelligent conversation with us, interact with us, you can do that with a class. I mean, shoot, you can teach kindergarten, elementary school. I'm telling you, they'll hire you and if you don't have a teacher certification, you get 3 years to get a teacher certification in a school district. 3 years. That's 3 years of gainful employment. May not be as much money as you were making when you were in corporate America or working with the feds or whatever you were doing, but it's still a salary. It's a whole lot more than you get on unemployment. A whole lot more. And as Don just said, you can do a substitute. They get $100 something. You get $100 something a day being a substitute, and you really don't even have to teach. All you gotta do is be there. But all it is, like I said, it's we need teachers. We do need teachers. So you in a position, you have lost your job, you've been furloughed, or in a lot of cases, been fired by the federal government for no fault of your own to just fire you because Doge or whatever. Look into teaching, y'all. Many of you have college degrees. They would snatch you up in a heartbeat. It's not as bad as they try to make it out to be. Believe me, it's not. It really isn't. Especially in our community. You got too many people who only look at one thing. They look at the worst of the students. And like I said, I'm not going to lie and tell you there are some students that just don't, that just can't get right. They just don't want to act right. I'm not saying it's not happening. What I am saying is this. You might be the one that could change that student. Stacey, it is not that deep. Really is. It really isn't that deep. It's not that deep. It really is not that deep. If it's something that being a substitute, your mother did it for 12 years, and that was probably with a different generation. But being a substitute, it ain't. All you got to do is don't day one come in and lay down the law. That's it. And be consistent with what you're saying. That's it. It ain't come up with classroom norms, leave them up on the wall. Hey, didn't I tell you we ain't doing that? And every once in a while, one of them step out of line. Hey, I tell you we ain't doing that today. Calm down with all that craziness. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to say. And on another note, dealing with schools, I had a crazy week this week. I had 2 medical emergencies in my classroom this week. And both of them left me scared for those children, for my students. It had me scared for them. One of my students, his blood sugar level was very low. And when he walked into my room, his hands were shaking like this. He was doing this, just kept doing that. And I asked him, he said, are you doing that? He's like, no. I said, what's going on? She said, I don't know. I can't control it. My hand's just doing this. So I set him in my room, made everybody else get out, called a nurse. She came down, checked on his blood sugar was at 87. And he said he had some candy and some juice and all that, and it was only up to 87. So it must have been very low. We gave him some more candy or some chips and some juice. It should have gone up to an acceptable level, which it did. But his hand was still doing this. Call mom. Mom, something's going on with it. Mom was nonchalant about it. Well, we went to the doctor. He said it started on Sunday. He said, we went to the doctor. They just said it's anxiety. Mom, that ain't anxiety. That ain't anxiety. That's not anxiety. Anxiety don't make sure. What's he anxious about? He's still in high school. What's he anxious about? And then, she came and said that we went to the doctor. They said it's just, high blood pressure and his sugar gets low. Nah, Mom, that ain't what it is. It's something else. And it pissed me off that she was so nonchalant about it. So yesterday, and that was on Tuesday, I saw him Wednesday, hands still doing the same thing. I asked him, did you eat anything today? Because he said he hadn't eaten anything that day. Did you eat anything today? Yeah, I had breakfast. I had this, I had that, and that. I'll say, good. You ate something. But his hand was still doing that. Nurse made him go home again and told Mom, you need to get him to a hospital right now. and get him checked out. All tests, whatever test they can run, it needs to be done. So yesterday in class, one of my students, I made her move from where she likes to sit with her friends to the other side of the room because all they do is talk. And it's really and truly, when you're trying to teach and somebody's just talking in the back room about nonsense, that is very annoying. But she went over to the other seat, didn't give me no flack, just went over to the other seat and put her head down. Okay, well, you go miss out on the lesson, but that's on you. Next thing I know, class ends, bell rings, everybody gets to leave. She's still asleep. And I told somebody to go wake her up. They tried to wake up. She wouldn't wake up. I turn around to do something else. Look back again. She's still there. I said, I told you to wait. I thought I told you to wake her up. She won't wake up. So I go over there, shake her. She don't wake up. Call her name. She don't wake up. Shake her again. Don't wake up. Lift the desk up. Drop it. She don't wake up. She does not wake up. For 20 minutes, that girl is out like a light. Nurse comes, checks on her, does a few things. She don't wake up. We get ready to call an ambulance. All of a sudden, she just sits up like this. And got her mother on the phone. Mama said, well, you know, she sleeps like that when she's on her period. No, Mama, that ain't got nothing to do with nobody's period. I don't know who you think you're talking to here. Ain't nobody that damn dumb. Ain't got nothing to do with no period. Your daughter's on something. I said that to say this. We all have young family members, teenagers, and the situations may arise with them. The girl yesterday, I'm pissed off because she was on something. She smoked a vape or something with something in it. And my son said she greened out. I was like, what's that? He said she smoked some weed and it just knocked her out. And that's what's wrong. He said that's probably what was wrong with her. I said, okay, I can accept that. And I didn't know it was called, I knew it was something from a vape because they found a vape in her pocket, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was weed or she just had some special weed or whatever it was. I didn't know. But he confirmed basically what I said. He said, all she did was green out. She greened out, Dad. That's going to happen. That's going to keep happening to her. Okay, cool. He confirmed what I thought. But what pissed me off the most is the nonchalant attitude of the parents. As the father of 2 adult children, to this day, if my children call me, my adults, as I call them, I'm calling my children my adults. If my adults call me and say, Dad, I'm not feeling good, blah, 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 whatever, the first thing I'm going to do, even if I'm at work, is leave and go to my children. The remix, my son, is 4 hours away from me. I would jump in my car and drive 4 hours to go check on my son. Now, if my kids call me, you know, back in the day, remember we used to get those phone calls early in the morning, late at night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you know, whole family wake up, oh shoot, who died or who hurt? My son called me a few days ago. It was around midnight. Now I'm knocked out. But I saw the phone ring and I said, damn, who called me at this time? Looked at the phone and it was Kenny. I immediately answered. The first thing I said, you all right? If he calls me or Shantae calls me during the day, I'm at work. And they know I'm at work. They know I'm in class. First thing I say is, are you all right? I don't understand a parent being nonchalant when we call and tell you that your child is having a medical emergency. Oh, and that young lady, Mama didn't even come and get her. Mama said, well, she got a car, she could drive home. And the nurse said, hold on, let me confirm this. You want your daughter to drive home by herself? She's like, yeah, she can drive by herself. She'll be all right. One of the teachers followed her home to make sure she got home safely. Because Mom, for whatever reason, didn't think it was necessary for her to come get her daughter. I don't understand that frame of that type of thinking, y'all. I really don't. I'm a ride or die for my adults. Hell, I'm a ride or die for my friends and my family. I'm a straight ride or die. You call me and say you need, and I'll say, what you need, when you need it, and let me see what I can do. If you call me and tell me that you're sick, I'm coming to get you. It's not a thing where I'm going to say, oh, call an ambulance. Well, I may say call an ambulance, but I'm still coming over there. I'll probably be the ambulance there. Even if I'm sitting in my room with a pair of t-shirts, a pair of shorts, and a t-shirt on, I'm putting on some sweatpants, putting on my shoes, and going outside and running to you. Those are the type of things that just don't understand that. And remember I told y'all, excuse me, well, a lot of these kids, they just want somebody to care. That's a part of it, y'all. That's a part of it. The nonchalant attitude, you can't have that with children. You cannot have that. And that disturbs me the most, because that tells me what type of parent you are. Now, I don't know their parents. These two students, I don't know their parents. Never met them, anything like that. But, you know, first impressions. And that was my first impression of the two of them. And I'm sure there are more students out there like that. A lot more. Parents don't want to answer the phone when the school calls about their kids, when they're trying to tell them about the kid acting up in school or whatever. That's the same type of behavior. It's all the same. Whether it's an emergency, they want to give your child, want to tell them about something wrong that they did, or if you just want to give them an accolade. Those are the things that piss me off about parenting these days. That nonchalant attitude. Because if we're not ride or die for our children, who are we ride or die for? That should be your first. When you have become an adult, your first responsibility is to your children. I mean, I'm not an adult. When you become a parent, your first responsibility is to your child, not anybody else. That's your first responsibility as a parent. And if I don't see it, that shows me what type of parent you are. Like I said, these kids, a lot of them, too many of them just want somebody to care. To just give a damn about them, about their future. That's all they want. That's all they want. Somebody to care. The last thing I want to talk about, y'all, is something that is very troublesome to me. In case you didn't know, here last night, this weekend is Howard's homecoming. And 5 people got shot at Howard at their homecoming event. It was 2 adult males. I think it was 3 adult males and 2 adult females, I think, something like that. And one was a student. None of them were students at Howard. One was a student at Morgan State. And I don't know, as of right before I came on the air, I don't know. That's another reason, why I was late. I was actually reading that article about it. But one thing that one was a student from Morgan State. That's problematic to me. This is getting ridiculous. And it's frustrating. It triggers me. It pisses me off, really, because we send our students to schools. We send our students to schools with the expectation that they'll be safe. And usually when something happens, and that's not colleges, but high school, middle school, all that stuff. Usually when something happens, it's not a student that does it when these shootings happen. Like, unfortunately, last year, somebody got killed at Tuskegee's homecoming. He wasn't a student. The people who were involved, who did the shooting, they weren't students, but they were on the campus. A couple of weeks ago, and this is actually something that pissed me off about the media. There was a shooting in Montgomery, downtown. they're gonna mention the Tuskegee Morehouse game. Now, what the Tuskegee Morehouse game had to do with a shooting that happened in the city of Montgomery hours after the game was on, they were gone. There were no parties associated with Tuskegee and Morehouse. No parties associated with that. But they want to bring up Tuskegee and Morehouse. That had something to do. And it was also Alabama State's homecoming that exact same day. But this had nothing to do with Alabama State. These were some local kids, some local young adults doing what they do, acting a fool. The shooting that happened at Tuskegee, if I'm not mistaken, the people involved from Montgomery and I think Auburn or something like that, they had a beef that had nothing to do with Tuskegee or a Tuskegee student, but they came on the campus. And Stacey, it's always locals. There was a shooting at somebody else's homecoming recently. An HBCU homecoming. And I keep thinking, why are they doing this at HBCU home? You'll never do anything like that at Auburn's homecoming, Alabama's homecoming. And they do have homecomings at PWIs, in case y'all didn't know. Or party at one of their schools. But why do they always have to come to HBCU homecoming, Black colleges homecoming, Black colleges parties, and shoot up the party? Why? I don't understand that. That makes no sense to me. The people who you want to shoot, the people you got beef with, don't go to that school. You know where they live, or at least where they hang out. Why you gonna wait till they come to a party to shoot up the party? I remember back in the day, the worst thing we ever had, and this was in Tuskegee, we never even got in a fight with locals. Some of them came up and came to my dorm and tried to threaten us. And the whole dorm came down and they changed their mind. We literally got all the dudes in the dorm, which is so funny, to come downstairs. And we all stood at the door and said, "What you need, man?" And they was like, "Oh, we good. And they left. I can't remember all the schools I've attended. I've attended 5 colleges, 6 if you can think about a community college I took one course at, and I've never had to deal with anything like that. Tuskegee's homecoming is next week, and they have so many security restrictions on that campus now. It is crazy. When I went to see my son a few weeks ago, well, I went to the first night game that Tuskegee ever had. They just got lights. So went to the night game. I was so excited about that. And I would, get to see the remix and my mentee and my little cousin. I'll, just hang out with them for a little bit. Just only for a little bit. Nothing special. Well, it was special to me. And I think they enjoyed it too. But just hang out with them, see the campus, see the lights, all that stuff. I had to sign in, show them my ID just to get on campus to see my son. A school I pay money to. I have to sign in just to go see my son. When the game was time for the game, they won't let you park anywhere near the campus or park on the campus. Before, you could park on the campus for free, walk around, do this, just walk on the campus, have fun. Couldn't do that. Had to park at a different location. They have a bus bring you to the campus. All of this stuff, man. Because you have some people being ignorant and want to shoot up schools, our schools. It's bad enough we have to worry about people who don't like Black people coming on the campus and starting stuff. Those MAGA folks. But now we got Black people. Well, we also have to worry about Black people coming on the campus and doing something ignorant, starting trouble. It shouldn't be that way. Colleges should be safe havens. Schools should be safe havens. I was talking to somebody last night, and they were at they went to GHO. In case y'all don't know what it is, that's North Carolina A&T's homecoming. They went to their homecoming last week. They said they had snipers on the roof. Snipers on the roof at homecoming. It's getting that bad, or it has gotten that bad. And when I was a cop at Clark Atlanta, homecoming was one of the most stressful times on the college campus, especially on the HBCU campus. And Stacey can attest to this. There was so much going on, so many people. So, I mean, it was ridiculous. And at the same time, there were a few years that I worked there. Morehouse or Spellhouse will be going on the same time as Clark's homecoming. Exact same day. Those three schools are literally right next to each other. Literally right next to each other. And you have thousands of people converging into a very small space for homecoming. We would hire extra cops, off-duty cops, local cops, sheriff's deputies, and APD officers to work the games with us and do the events and all that stuff, because it would be that many people. And probably total for both campuses would probably be about 10,000 people for both of them for their homecomings. But that's 10,000 people, 10,000 additional people to those campuses. And we would have quite a few police officers, like 60, 70, probably about 100 extra police officers. And it still wasn't enough. There's never enough law enforcement to stop crime. There's never enough. But when is it going to be enough for our people to understand? Don't bring that foolishness over there to the campuses. Because all it's doing is messing with our best and brightest, making them afraid. If you come over there to have a good time, come over and have a good time and leave it at that. You don't need your gun to have a good time. In the Tuskegee thing, they had some of the young people, the knuckleheads, taking pictures and posting them on Instagram with them showing their switches, guns, in the buildings. Now, how they gained access to the buildings, I don't know, but they were in buildings. And acting like there's nothing there. And then when they start rounding up people because of the shooting, they coming back and saying, "Oh, don't put me in none of this. I had nothing to do with that shooting." But you on the campus, you got a picture on the campus, which you would have done. Then you got something to do with it. Whether you did the shooting or not, you had something to do with it. It ain't that deep, y'all. I long for the time where we all felt safe. Just being. Just feel safe. Just being. Not having to worry about what's gonna happen. That's all I want us to get back to. That's what I want us to get to, I should say. Not get back to, but just get to a place where we can be safe. Homecoming is a time where you went to that school in a time where you felt safe. You felt safe. That's why they call it homecoming. When I was when I lived in Atlanta, I used to call going home, coming here to Augusta or going to Tuskegee. I used to call it going home. And I used those time periods. They were, didn't go a lot to either places, but I used those time periods to renew my spirit. That's what we go to homecoming for, to renew our spirit, to let us know, to remind us of a simpler time where we didn't have a whole lot of bills, a whole lot of responsibilities, a time where we just had fun and just enjoyed it. Get to see old friends, lie about the stuff that we did, exaggerate about the other stuff that we did. Every year, The number of girls that we dated back in the day increased by 10. The number of drinks we had at that certain party that everybody was at, and y'all reminisce about that part, man. Shoot, one year first year you talk about it, we had 2 drinks. I had 2 drinks and I was through. Next time you talk, man, I had 15 drinks, man. I was 2 through that night. I had so much fun, boy. That was the best night of my life. Those things. Exaggerate. Laugh. Hug. Get hugged. See old friends. Make new friends. Even do some networking. That's what homecoming is for. That's what makes HBCU's homecoming special. Now we have to worry about whether or not somebody's going to shoot up the place. I'm sorry, y'all. That's not even, that's taking away the spirit. That's putting a dagger in the spirit of homecoming. That's really what it is, y'all. That's what it is. And we've gotten to that point now. And it's a shame because we didn't need to get to this point. We didn't need to. And I'm not going to blame the government on it. I'm going to blame us. Once again, as I said earlier, somebody showing these kids that they care. No, it's not. Well, Stacey, it's not new. It's not new. Because, back in the day, there'll be fights between the locals and the students and all that. But it was never this serious. And now it seems like it's an epidemic proportions. That's what it seems like. I mean, you got every HBCU homecoming, just about every single one of them, somebody's getting shot. Why? When I was at Tuskegee, the worst thing that happened when I was there was a fight between 2 of the fraternities. Lasted probably about 2 or 3 minutes. That was it. And I know that was a long time ago, but that's stuff that we got to figure this out, y'all. We have to figure this out, because if we don't figure it out, it's going to end up where there's not going to be any homecomings. As I said, some of these kids, they just need somebody to know that they care about them. Maybe we can prevent some of that. Instead of worrying about coming off from the top or trying to change things on the back end, how about we change things on the front end? So, having said that, y'all, I need to go and get the oil changed in my car because I'm driving down to homecoming next weekend. I may or may not be on here, depending on how I feel or how tired I am from hanging out on Friday night down in Tuskegee. Oh, in case y'all didn't know, Tuskegee has the best homecoming. And I'm going to tell you, there's one reason why. One reason why they're better than everybody else. Tuskegee is the only school that has a homecoming in 2 different states. 2 different states, 2 different cities, 2 different time zones. That's what Tuskegee has. They have party on Thursday night in Atlanta. And then we drive down to Tuskegee on Friday morning to hang out in the yard. So we celebrate homecoming in 2 different states, y'all. That's why Tuskegee's homecoming is the best. Thank you, Stephanie. I will try my best. I'm leaving here and getting off work on Thursday afternoon. Not even coming back home. My car gonna be packed, and I'm gonna go straight to Atlanta, get ready for that party, and go get up in the next morning and drive down to Tuskegee, because you got to be on the yard by 12 o'clock Central Time. You got to be on the yard by 12 o'clock Central Time. Can't be nowhere else if you're Tuskegee alone. If you're going to Tuskegee homecoming, you got to be on the Ave by 12 o'clock. So, y'all, listen, it was actually pretty good having a conversation with myself, well, with y'all actually, and not having been interrupted by Leonard and his what we gonna do next, Kenny? What we gonna do next? What's the start? What's the strategy? Sometimes we need to get away from worrying about the strategies and just talk about the stuff that affects us, that don't have anything to do with the government. Even though I did talk about the government and all of that, but I was talking about the shutdown. So y'all have a good week. Y'all be safe. Find a young kid, change their life for the better. Do that for me. That's your assignment for the week. Do that. Find somebody young, become their mentor. See if you can change their life. And Stacy, I have faith in you, sister. I know you'll be a good teacher. You'll be a damn good teacher. I know that for a fact. All right, y'all. Have a good week. See y'all possibly next week if I can get up in time. If I can get up in time, y'all, I do it. I'll see you next week. Deuces.